Good morning, Edward. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for coming.
And it's been great to see you again. You're one of the most successful Israeli entrepreneurs. We have known each other for some time, from industry perspective, semiconductor perspective. We even discussed some strategic topics with each other in the past. So as a co-founder, president, CEO, and board member of Mellanox, you built a very successful company. And eventually in 2020, you sold it to Nvidia for $7 billion. And let's talk a little bit about your journey and how you got to build Mellanox.
Yeah, so it was actually the second company I was co-founding. The first company was Galileo Technology that we did, and we went public in '97, then was sold to Marvell for $2.7 billion in around 2000. We started Mellanox in '99. Went public in 2007 and then was sold to Nvidia, and it closed in 2020. So it's two very successful semiconductor companies. Both went public in NASDAQ, and then both were sold for billions of dollars to US companies. So it's first, nothing is easy. And when you start a company, I think the most important thing is first the people. That you need to pick the right team, the right executive partners to go and run with you for a long term and build the company in the right structure. Then once you have the team, I think the second most important thing is the markets that you're targeting. And we target the data center market, which is a very lucrative market. And what we've decided to do is actually manipulate transfer, communication, interconnect, and then manipulation of data in the data center, which today is becoming more and more important with all of the artificial intelligence. For example, OpenAI with ChatGPT is all working on the Mellanox InfiniBand. All of the I shouldn't say all, but the vast majority of the hyperscale data centers are working on InfiniBand, the vast majority of the supercomputers. So you start understanding the markets you're playing in, understanding the size, the depth, how important, how lucrative, how much gross margin you can make. And then once you understand this, you need to be very professional in what you do. So you cannot cut corners. You need to understand every aspect, every element in what the solution requires. For example, at Mellanox, we also did cables. And people thought, why are you doing copper cables? What's the advantage for Mellanox doing copper cables or optical cables? And I understood that in order to give a full end-to-end solution and keep a gap, an advantage over our competitors, we should not rely on anyone and we should run with our pace. And if we're missing one link, which was, for example, the cables, we may fail because we rely on other people to keep up the pace with us. So we kept everything doing ourselves.
Right. So InfiniBand, for instance, it sounds like today used as an interconnect technology in data centers. But I remember when you and I spent time years ago, like 10 years ago, talking about this, it wasn't as clear. It was niche. Yes. It was really for the people that requires really high bandwidth, but not everybody want that. They want to have something cheaper. And so other connections. And all the pieces are not quite there yet. So you have to do everything from chips all the way to cables, as well as I think you also have to do motherboard, some kind of a add-on card. So talk about why did you believe what you believed, and how, coming from Israel, how did you really bring this part of niche to mainstream in a way? Because you have to see something there before other people see it.
Yeah. So we did 2 or 3 things to get there. First, we understood data is growing exponentially. And when there's an exponential growth, you need to match the technology, the solution with the growth of the data. So you cannot stay with the old solutions of fiber channel, if you remember the old days for storage, and Ethernet, which is still very common, but not at the high-end solutions for data manipulations and data science and so on. So we understood that there needs to be a very efficient interconnect that will take data fastest in the planet. On top of that, can manipulate data and do it without the involvement of the main CPU or GPU. And once we understood that, and we always had traction, even other people did not see the traction we had. People thought Ethernet's going to take over the world and Ethernet's going to take InfiniBand and so on. So we understood there's going to be always a gap between InfiniBand and Ethernet, and this gap is very important because if you want to run artificial intelligence, the faster your interconnect, the more intelligent your machine is. And it's so important to be able to manipulate more data at the same amount of time. Right. That's one thing. Since we understood there's also Ethernet, and Ethernet was more prevalent at that time, what we did, we actually brought InfiniBand on top of Ethernet. So we put RDMA, we put the offload engines for storage, for interconnect, for management from InfiniBand on top of layer 2 Ethernet. So we told our customers, you don't need to only run Mellanox on InfiniBand. We can also give you the same technology over Ethernet, so you can feel very comfortable. You're not locked down to kind of a semi-proprietary interconnect standard InfiniBand. You can do it on top of Ethernet. Then, once they tried on top of Ethernet, and they already had their applications running on Ethernet, we told them, hey, you know what? You're already using these mechanisms. Try InfiniBand. And then they saw anywhere between 15 to 40% performance improvement, so they started getting addicted to InfiniBand, and that's why InfiniBand today is so widely used in every data center that needs to manipulate and use more data. I think most of the artificial intelligence, definitely in the future, even today, that are running in the data centers are using InfiniBand, and it will just continue growing, and it's selling billions of dollars every year of InfiniBand all over the world.
So both of us, in a way, were CEO of companies that are focused on data movements, right? You were doing it in the interconnect, and I was doing it between the what I call data centers in Pi. And both of us are actually successful IPOs. Yes. Now, but I think I decided to move on since after IPO, taking public company, and then decided to go to the next stage. And you stayed actually much longer and then build a company that are very successful as well. So let's talk about this journey of building companies. What made you to stay over 20 years? Because most times, after about 10 years, it's really not that easy to be in the same job and continue to driving it.
So I was CEO for 21 years, but it's not the same job. When you start at zero, you have responsibility for 3, 4, 5 guys. Then you grow the company to tens of people, and you're still responsible mainly of the technology, of the engineering, and so on. You start growing, you're now more responsible for maybe more sales and marketing. Then you have operations. And then you're starting to deal with the top executives around the world, not just on the technology side, but also on the financial side. So the job is evolving through time. It's not like you still have the same title. I was not promoted for 21 years. I was the CEO from day one, from 99 until 2020, for 21 years. But the job is really changing from one stage of the company, you're selling, $2 million, then $20 million, then 100 or 250, getting to $1 billion of revenues. The company is changing significantly, and your role as the CEO transitions with it to have different focuses, different things to focus on. You meet other people, you work at different levels, so it's not the same thing. It is very hard, and not everybody can do the transition from like a startup CEO to a multi-billion-dollar CEO. It's something that you need to understand, that you're changing roles even though you're in the same position. You're now relying more on your team, you're delegating much more, you cannot do everything yourself. You need to focus more now on the investor side, make sure the operations right, because you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars in revenues. So you understand that you're in the same position, the same title, but your job really changes with time, and so it was very interesting. Yeah, it's very challenging. Being a CEO of a public company for I think 13 years was not easy. And it's like you have every quarter report, and the earning call and all that, and you do it in different places, and you meet investors. Sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're less happy. But I think it was very significant that the same team stayed for. I think most of my team stayed more than 17 years with the company. Then I stayed on with other. But it was very significant that the same guys were running the same company for such a long time.
I think I heard this is a really good point. It's same title, but job changes as you're going from startup to scale up to multinational company.
Yeah.
and it requires different kind of the skill set, discipline, and experience and networks. So very good point. Let's talk a little bit about the M&A, because M&A is often used as an exit, but they say about half of M&A is successful, and many of them fail. So I'd like to get your perspective of how do you grade the acquisition of Mellanox by Nvidia, and what have you learned from that process?
So first, I'll start earlier. We at Mellanox acquired 11 companies. So we
Okay.
spent $1.7 billion in cash in acquiring companies. We acquired 2 public companies. One was Voltaire for $215 million. One was EasyChip for $815 million. So we spent over $1.6, $1.7 billion in cash acquiring companies. And out of this 11, we had only one that we need to shut down. So our success rate was amazing. So we knew and we understood the process of acquisition, the process of PMI, post-merger integration, of integrating the company, the psychology stages that people are going through, what's important from the acquirer side, from the acquiring side. And we went through these stages 11 times before we sold Mellanox to Nvidia. So we kind of knew how this process goes, how both sides feel, and so on. I think the decision first to sell to Nvidia and not to some other competitors was the right decision. Nvidia was a much similar company in its culture to Mellanox, still run by the founder, Jensen Huang. We partnered even before, and we're still good friends. So the process to us, now that we've been acquired, was, I wouldn't say it was much easier, because we understood how they see us, what's the priority from Jensen's side, from Nvidia's side when acquiring Mellanox. We understood how to make everything simpler and more efficient to Nvidia, and I think the collaboration really went well. The integration was smooth, and I think the vast majority of the team of Mellanox is still with Nvidia, even after 2 years of closing this transaction. On top of that, the synergy between the technology is unbelievable. If you're seeing, Nvidia was never market cap higher than Intel since inception. Exactly. I think 9 months after the merger of Mellanox and Nvidia was above market cap of Intel, and now it's about 7x. I think Nvidia is $700 billion and Intel is about $120 billion. So it's about 7x. And I think the synergy of the technology, of the interconnect with the GPU that brings a full end-to-end solution for data centers in many applications is the significant high-performance computing and artificial intelligence in many more things, is the significance of this merger, and brings a lot of value to first the company, then the shareholders, and then the employees.
Actually, I thought it was brilliant when that was announced. It giving Nvidia a unique position to drive the scalability, the bandwidth that are required in supporting really this data-driven economy, and it was a brilliant move. So I know the theoretically it was very, very good, but I think what you're also confirming is with the team and the integration perspective, it's also done very successfully as well.
Yeah, and now Nvidia, we also at Mellanox brought solutions to our customers, to the market. We brought switches, we brought end-to-end solutions from the PCI Express from inside the server through the plug-in card that you said, the cable, the switches, the cable and the other, whether it's storage. So Nvidia now can bring the full rack of a solution to its customers, a full actually cloud solution, which is very efficient, and then the revenue and the profit to Nvidia is significantly higher than just selling components or selling parts of the solution. So this integration is amazingly synergetic on the technology side, on the revenue side, on the profit side, everything. And that's why Nvidia is really skyrocketing.
So let's talk about the role of Nvidia in today in what I call AI economy, right? I mean, obviously many public knows ChatGPT now, but we knew already some time ago, data is really important and data is exploding. And the importance of what you can do with the data with machine learning, we knew that trend already as a technologist. Now, the role of Nvidia is incredibly important today in the industry. This is why they have a 7 times bigger market cap than Intel, as you said. So let's talk about your view of Nvidia. Why is it such an important? Do you see what's changing going forward?
Yeah, so first, the importance, because I think NVIDIA is the number one company, semiconductor and actually solution company for data center infrastructure. And regardless which application you're using, but if it's data sensitive or it's data intensive, then you need NVIDIA to move the data, to process the data, to manipulate the data, and to get to the right thing. So we don't see competition coming along anytime soon, and NVIDIA, by continuing to develop the next generations faster than any other company that I see on the planet, I think will keep this advantage. And now that it has both the processing and the connectivity side, I think it will continue leading most of the infrastructure for all of the applications. If you looked at crypto, NVIDIA was leading crypto. NVIDIA is leading in the high-performance computing, in artificial intelligence. Most of the hyperscale companies, data centers, are using NVIDIA GPUs and Mellanox interconnect, whether it's Ethernet and InfiniBand. So I think this leadership is going to continue for a while, for quite some time, and you'll see NVIDIA growing, and that's why the share price is reacting so nicely. And with that, I think NVIDIA will acquire more technologies in the future, but you'll see NVIDIA, I think, grow faster and provide a holistic or wider solution into the markets.
Yeah, so when I was at Samsung, we had a partnership, ongoing partnership with Jensen for multiple things. But as you know, one of the most important elements of data movements is not only the CPU and the compute and interconnectivity, which is really the managing the traffic, but then there's storage and the memory. So Samsung and Nvidia and others have played a very key role in building that ecosystem, and edge data become more important.
You actually had a very important role for us, because if we were stay in magnetic storage, the latency to data would have been so significant that our interconnect would not help. So you, by bringing flash to be the storage or the main storage in the servers, enabled us to really show why interconnect latency and bandwidth can be utilized. Without your technology, we couldn't have done that. So this partnership between Samsung and Mellanox that we tried a number of times really helped in the market because of the storage latency, storage capacity, and bandwidth.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about data, right? It's about data movements and putting the data at the right place. And this is where I think the key differentiation is. And I know you've been thinking a lot about the data movements. And so what's coming next? What is your view of what's exciting technologies?
I think we'll see some maybe dedicated processing elements for different applications coming that will help manipulate and process data to where the data resides rather to where the CPU is residing. So you want to be able to be flexible, bring the flexibility of data processing to where the data resides instead of needing to move the data multiple times. So this is one thing we're going to see. I think there you'll see more offloads for storage. There's some companies we're involved in. You'll see some more offloads for cyber, for security, being done in hardware, whether it's in the interconnect or in the storage or other places. You'll see more offload for management, for virtualization, so it's easier to manage this data. You would want to see this data be residing in any cloud you want it to be without needing to manage specific clouds. So you want to have flexibility to use either public or private clouds, the hybrid model of clouds, in a way that it's very efficient without needing to think where it is or manage it differently. So all those things, all those elements are going to move forward. Another thing we're going to see is you're going to see the same cloud architecture that today you see in the data center. You're going to see it now in the cars, in the automotive market. So a car will have a mini data center, also connected with very high bandwidth, because future cars are going to be a completely different platform. They're not just going to be a vehicle. They're going to be an entertainment vehicle. They're going to be an education platform. They're going to be a different thing. So you go into this and you're now in your house. You don't need to drive. And this thing takes you, whether it's going to be a drone or a car or whatever you want to call it, it's going to take you from place to place. But while you're inside it, the platform can provide you much richer capabilities of what to do with the time you're inside. So we're going to have a mini cloud there. and at the side, the curb, and in many places. So you'll see similar architectures of cloud from the main data set, from the hyper data centers, small data centers, curb, then automotives and so on. So those are things we'll see in the future.
So I think what you're discussing really is about the compute and the capability of cloud and mobility coming together, which makes it these mini data center-like capabilities from even the cars and homes and others that are enabling it and connecting it. That is the mega trend that we already see that coming.
Yeah, actually yourself, because your glasses in the future will have a heads-up display and will have a computer to tell you, okay, I'm seeing Young, maybe I should tell him this and this. This is the guy, I'm seeing everybody. You'll have always a computer telling you what's going on around you. When you talk about the Web 3.0, when you talk about the metaverse, your clothes will have elements that will feel, will sense, will make you feel much more comfortable. Today we're air conditioning this whole room, but if I can air condition your clothes, it will be much more efficient, and you'll feel much more calm. And I will pick whatever temperature I want, you'll pick whatever temperature you want, and it will actually sense that we will not need to change. It will know if you feel comfortable or not. So there's many more, and the data gathered from your shoes, from everything, will be all collected, make you, so the world is all about the data, then computing and storing the data, and making sense, so it will make our lives much more efficient, much better, much faster. Everything's going to be better.
So two different elements. As a user and consumer perspective, data is everywhere in a sense that's going to make our lives and our experience better. And the hosting this data in the cloud, you want to, in a perspective of a provider perspective, you want to have a portability.
And our kids are going to be more lucky.
Yeah, I hope so.
The pace of progress. The pace of progress of technology is ever increasing. And today, the computer can write programs.
Yes.
So the computer can generate the next program to write, and it'll be bug-free, it'll be well documented, and it will run more efficient because the computer wrote it. So the efficiency of things progressing will be faster than we're doing those things, because we write things slower, we have a lot of bugs, and so there's a lot of things to think about the progress in the
I remember when I was at MIT writing assembly code. I mean, this is when you have to know everything about every device, interactions, and you have to know the states and registers. Now, you go to ChatGPT, say, okay, write a program in Python, how to do XYZ, and boom, comes out for you. Yeah. Incredible.
There's always danger in that if it goes to malicious hands.
Yes.
And if you think of intelligence forces working around the world, the machine has a certain IQ. But imagine, let's say 170 like us today. But imagine the machine has 5,000 IQ. It can start manipulating you. It can start manipulating us.
Yes.
So we need, obviously, to have enough governance and regulations to make sure that there's enough protection around this artificial intelligence machines, that we don't do, or they don't do stupid things.
I mean, this is a tool, right? Tool is it's like atomic. Is it bad or good? I mean, it was a great source of potential energy and others, but also had a downside of being a weapon of major destructions. And having the right governance around nuclear helped to proliferate peaceful use rather than the proliferation of weapons around the world. Now, it'll be same kind of issues, right? Because I think the AI is so powerful and so prevailing and so much cheaper today. It's going to be even more cheaper, mainly because people like us make it go faster and cheaper and broader. So given that mega trend, what do you think we need to do to govern AI going forward?
It's a very good question. First, you don't want to pace technology or pace advancement. You want to advance as fast as you can. At the same time, because of the trust we give the machines, the trust we give AI, we think that it's all the time right. But if someone malicious wants to tell you to do things you should not be doing, AI, the machine, can be used to do that. And there's a lot of fake news. So if the AI is built on fake data, it's a big problem. because it'll tell you wrong things to do, which will eventually not end up in a good way. There should be regulations of the data that's being utilized to make the machines intelligent, the learning stage. The data should be very clear and clean in respect of you don't want to manipulate people to do things they don't want to do or things that are dangerous to them or to other people. So that's one thing. Second is you want to maybe limit where those machines reside and try to prevent them. This sounds like science fiction, but trying to prevent them from escaping from the data center to another place and running on other places that they should not be running. So there should be also some physical regulations in terms of where the data centers and where the AI machines can run. And then it's limitations of what people can use AI for. Because once you have AI and you know how to manipulate people, I can get you to do whatever I want you to do.
Exactly.
Whether it's in elections,
Yes.
whether it's in different things that probably we should not talk about now, but there's a lot of things that can be done using AI. So those things should be thought of. And
Sam Altman had an interview, the founder of OpenAI, had an interview, and I think it was in Wall Street Journal. His biggest concern was 2024 U.S. Election can be manipulated using ChatGPT. He was worried about potential implication of how data can be used.
it's not if. Those things already have been done in the past. So we know of elections manipulations around the world, including here, trying, at least from countries that are trying to manipulate and get the results different than. So those things are happening. It's not in the future.
It is here. It is here.
It's happened in the past. Yeah, we are aware of trying to manipulate, also in the US, obviously, but also in Israel and other places around the world. And the stronger the machines are, the more capable they are. We need to find the right mechanisms and the right ways to prevent those manipulations to bear fruit.
So as we all know, these things are something does not happen overnight because it requires consensus. It requires certain agreement, and it's in process. I know European Union just in the process of actually having an AI Act. So that will be also has interesting implication going forward in terms of how one can use AI based on being able to verify. That's not an easy thing also. Traceability and where and how is it coming from. So I think it's going to be an interesting journey we're all going to go through as we are discovering what's the right balance of using the power with check. Let me change the subject a little bit because Israel is celebrating 75-year anniversary. Congratulations. And it's really become a startup nation. And so once that I had an opportunity to meet past President Simon Peres, this was a few years ago when he was his last year as president. And I had a chance to meet him, and he said, Young, you're president of something electronics, and I have a request for you. And my request is that I believe the future of peace in this neighborhood is about prosperity. Prosperity of not just me, not just Israel, but the neighbors. And he really believed that multinationals and others should invest more in the neighbors as well for tech community and others. And I actually learned that you are one of the early entrepreneurs in Israel invest in your neighbors. So can you talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, so we at Mellanox first inside Israel, about 10% of our employees were Israeli Arabs, which was very important to me. And we celebrated Eid al-Fitr and Christmas with kosher food, so all religions could celebrate together the different holidays for the different religions. But then even more important, we started employing. It was very important to employ Palestinian employees. And we had a design. We were the first design center in Rawabi, the new city close to Ramallah. Before that, we started in Ramallah. We had a design center in Ramallah that moved to Rawabi. We had a design center in Nablus and in Hebron. And even we opened a design center in Gaza, which was very important to me. And I think we're the only company that employed Palestinians in Gaza. Having said that, we went through 3 operations. We went through 4. We went through the Second Lebanon War and 3 operations in Gaza, while we're killing each other and working at the same time. So the same day I was talking to my employees that were in reserve duties in Gaza, fighting in the operation, and the same time talking to the employees in Gaza. And I understand why we're doing this, fighting at the same day and working together the same day. But this should stop, and we should move to have peace with the Palestinians, build this two-state solution.
Let's change the subject a little bit. Now you are a angel investor and technologist, and actually me too. After retiring from Samsung, I'm also an investor as well. So in fact, we jointly invest in the same company in Israel, Speed Data, using semi, but really focus on data infrastructure, enabling, and the chip happens to be one of how you get there. So I'd like to hear about what you're doing today and what are some of the companies you get excited about.
So, we're pretty diversified. We actually invest now in agri-tech, in food tech, which I think is very important to take the food technology to the next level of efficiency, of taking about ecological considerations of saving the world. We're investing in fintech, in artificial intelligence, in cyber. We have some very interesting cyber technology investments. Obviously, semiconductor. You mentioned Speed Data, but we also have Plyops, which is a storage-focused company. So we're very, very diversified in the markets we're playing in. I think in Israel still it's very vibrant, and there's a lot of momentum of building new companies. I think AI is even opening it wider because the amount of applications you can run on top of artificial intelligence is unbelievable. I mean, nearly everything, whether it's legal, whether it's dentist, medical procedures, obviously driving. A lot of things can be aided by artificial intelligence. So we're seeing a lot of companies focus their future companies on artificial intelligence and infrastructure. So there's a lot of things to invest on here in Israel.
It's exciting. I actually really believe, when I come here, I feel like I am truly in Startup Nation. And I've been coming here since year 2001. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, well, I hope now we're going above the stage of Startup Nation and we're becoming like a mega billion-dollar nation. But you're seeing more and more companies like Wix and Fiverr and Monday and others that are becoming multi-billion-dollar companies here that are growing as independent Israeli companies, and that's the next stage of the technology companies here in Israel.
That is true, because when I first came, I remember what was Israeli startups are known for is a great startup, but actually they don't continue.
Right.
They will actually give up at some point and then get sold to multinational corporations. Right. But now I think you and others, like Amnon Shasta of Mobileye and others, really have changed by creating a truly large-scale companies that are global, competitive, leading, and has sustaining its own capacity.
I see multiple companies, reach the billions of dollars, both of revenues and obviously market cap, and tens of billions. And the next stage, we haven't yet had a company here reach $100 billion, and that's the next stage, and that's what we're trying to do here in Israel.
So lastly, one of my question is, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, CEO, what would be the message you would give to other folks who want to be like you?
So there's multiple things you need to focus on. We talked about this earlier, but I think the number one is be professional. You need to understand all of the details very thoroughly and very detail-oriented, but you need to be very, very professional. You have to be a very professional team to go with you. So understanding the market, understanding the problems, understanding the market, understanding the applications, understanding the customers, understanding the supply chain, very in all aspects of your company. Second is choose the right team. Make sure that you have the right partners to run with for the long term. I think integrity is very important in all of the businesses that you want to do. So you need to build from day one the right mindset and the right culture within your company to be straightforward, to be transparent, to build a very healthy company in all aspects. And then look at the financial side, get the right investors, and have enough money, which is the fuel to make the company, take off and go to very high levels. So all those things are things you need to do in a very professional, very thoroughly thought of process in order to be successful.
Great. I hope for many audience out there that are listening to you and your story get inspired and build even more companies and successful companies, and more importantly, also doing the right thing.
Yes, and I hope they'll be more successful in building even larger companies, and yeah, it's very important for everybody.
Thank you very much for your time joining me at the Next Wave series. I think you have been a great and delighted to catch up with you again.
Thank you very much, Yang. Great hosting you here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.